A progress report, sometimes called a status report, should enable the audience to quickly get answers to three questions. Question 1, what work have you completed? Question 2, what issues have you encountered? And question 3, what work do you have left to do? Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? But a poorly written progress report can cause a lot of noise. It can easily backfire and create misunderstanding, hard feelings, or worse. You want your progress reports to communicate clearly and concisely the information that your supervisor or your client needs to make decisions. And at the same time, you want each report you create to also create a positive impression of you. Your report should demonstrate how competent you are and generate in your audience feelings of confidence and trust. So let's examine 7 tips to help you produce progress reports that get both attention and respect. The first tip is to choose a form your audience finds both familiar and accessible. In some organizations, supervisors are used to receiving progress reports in a certain template or a form. When you're working with a client, it's hard to know what their expectations are, so you might want to ask. Make sure that whatever form you choose is easy to access on the device the audience is most likely to use for reading it. If your boss or your client typically checks status reports on the go, then an email message might work well rather than an attachment, because attachments, of course, can be tricky to read on some mobile devices. The second tip is to structure a report so it answers those 3 questions we looked at earlier. What work have you completed? What issues have you encountered? And what work do you have left to do? Now, depending on your situation and on the complexity of the work you're reporting on, you may also answer other questions. But these, we might say, are the 3 essential questions that any progress report must answer. Now, as you answer these questions, you want to think about the order that's logical for your reader who's trying to extract key information in order to make a decision. Avoid just telling a rambling story of how you've spent the period since your last report. Instead, focus on the key information that a decision maker needs to determine how to move ahead. Create a clear path for them to help with their decision making. The third tip for great progress reports is to be positive. Now, that means recognizing honestly problems that have come up. You don't want to whitewash a problem that will only come back to bite you. At the same time, avoid strongly negative words such as failure, impossible, and mistake. Along similar lines, offer solutions. Never present a problem without also suggesting a way to solve it. Now, that doesn't mean dictating to your supervisor or client how to handle a situation. It just means offering them choices to help them arrive at a decision quickly. Fourth tip, be thorough. Now, you want to be as concise as possible. Supervisors and clients are busy people, but you want to be comprehensive, and that means anticipating questions your audience might ask so you can answer them in advance. Be sure to provide just enough detail to enable the audience to make a decision without having to contact you for more information. Tip number 5, you make your report easy to skim. This means using elements of graphic design such as headings, subheadings, bulleted lists, and tables. Tip 6, be clear about your next steps. Let your audience know if you need a decision from them or their approval. And be very specific about timelines. Don't assume that your audience will recognize that something is urgent unless you indicate the timeline and the reason that your topic is urgent. Finally, the last tip is to put any extra content in an appendix. You want to put into an appendix detailed information that is nice to have rather than need to have, such as financial data, spreadsheets, and drawings. This approach means that your report itself will be concise and easy to skim. Follow these 7 simple tips And your progress reports will show you to be an organized, capable, and positive leader, the kind of person everyone wants to work with. And as a bonus, you'll find that progress report writing suddenly becomes a breeze, a routine task that you can tackle with ease and confidence.